Yi Wanwan was deathly pale and the man next to her didn't know how to comfort her as he looked at her. Ajo, I want to spend some time with my brother. An unknown amount of time passed before Yi Wanwan spoke to Si Yihan. Alright. Si Yihan wanted to speak but hesitated. Any words right now were too weak, so he could only pat her hair comfortingly in the end. After obtaining permission from the doctor, Yi Wanwan entered the hospital room by herself. Nameless Nya was lying in bed, alone and unmoving with an oxygen mask over his nose and mouth. There wasn't a trace of pain on his face. It was as though he was merely sleeping, awfully serene. Brother, Yi Wanwan walked to the side of the bed and tightly grasped Nameless Nya's hands. Brother, wake up. Didn't you want to get rich? Do business? Wake up. I'll give all of the Fearless Alliance, and the Nya family's business to you. Also, I'll tell Ajo to give all of his business to you too, how about that? Yi Wanwan stared at the motionless Nameless Nya on the hospital bed, a mist rising over her eyes. She gently shook Nameless Nya's arm. She couldn't lose him. That was a pain she couldn't endure in her life. In her mind, dribs and drabs of her past with Nameless Nya faintly surfaced. Yi Wanwan left the Nya family when she was young and lived with their grandpa, but it was precisely that which made her every interaction with Nameless Nya extraordinarily precious and extraordinarily valuable. Brother, do you still remember? When I was young, I was bullied by someone, and you picked up a brick to smash that guy's head, many times. Inside the ward, Yi Wanwan smiled at times, cried at others. Outside the ward, Si Yihan remained silent. Brother, do you know? This time, you were protecting me again. Even though you lost your consciousness already, you were still protecting me, your useless sister. Brother, no matter how outsiders view you, you're always the mightiest hero in my mind. Brother, wake up. Didn't you once say that as long as I could fend off 3 moves from you, you would agree to all of my reasonable and unreasonable requests? I can definitely take 3 moves from you now, perhaps even more. You can't weasel out of it. You have to wake up and fulfill your promise. I'm begging you. Yi Wanwan clutched Nameless Nya's hands tighter and tighter. It was though she would lose hold of her brother if she loosened her grip even slightly and he would never reappear in her life again. Yi Wanwan stayed in the hospital room without taking a step away, accompanying Nameless Nya the whole night. And outside the hospital room, Si Yihan also didn't take a single step away and stood guard on such a miserable night. The next morning, faint rays of sunlight scattered in the hospital room through the window. Yi Wanwan dazedly opened her eyes and subconsciously reached for Nameless Nya's hands. Brother. Don't. Before Yi Wanwan finished speaking, she discovered the bed was empty. Unease and hysteria enveloped her heart instantly. Within seconds, Yi Wanwan shot up with panic all across her face and wanted to sprint out of the ward. However, she had just stood up when she discovered Nameless Nya sitting by the table next to the window, dressed in his patient's gown with one leg propped over his knee. He was taking a bite from the partially eaten apple in his hand. Yi Wanwan stared at Nameless Nya, her mind turning blank. Meanwhile, Nameless Nya dumbfoundedly looked back at her. Want some? Upon seeing a lack of response from her, Nameless Nya handed his apple to her. Yi Wanwan's gaze landed on the apple he was handing to her, and she reflexively accepted it. After his apple was taken, Nameless Nya wiped his mouth and picked up a pear from the tray and started eating it. Sister. I'm telling you, I'm starving to death. Why is there only fruit here? Nameless Nya slurred out inarticulately. Yi Wanwan quickly put the apple aside and looked at Nameless Nya. Brother. Hold on, my brain is a little messy. Let's get this clear. You're fine. Nameless Nya was bewildered. Who said I'm fine? Motherfucker, there isn't a spot in my body that doesn't hurt. I was nearly beaten to death by those fucking bastards. They were seriously ruthless. There isn't a spot in his body that doesn't hurt? He was nearly beaten to death. Is that the main point? Wasn't the main point him drinking iced pear juice that contained a lethal poison? Doctor. Brother, don't move. I'm gonna go call the doctor. Yi Wanwan turned to sprint out. Nameless Nya instantly pulled Yi Wanwan back. Call a doctor. Call what doctor? Didn't I just take a round of beating? There's nothing major about that. Look at you, you sent me to the hospital for such a trivial matter. Doesn't the hospital cost anything? Brother isn't lecturing you, but you're being too extravagant and wasteful. Yi Wanwan was utterly stupefied. This absolutely wasn't a dying flash of lucidity. Her brother was absolutely full of vigor and energy and didn't look poisoned in the slightest. If it weren't for you dragging me back, why would I have been beaten up so miserably? You'll pay for the hospital cost and also the nutrition cost or whatever. You'll pay for it all, Nameless Nya lamented with a sigh a moment later. Yi Wanwan, weren't you lethally poisoned? Yi Wanwan was stunned. Lethally poisoned? Which poison? Nameless Nya asked. It was withered butterfly. A 100% fatal poison. Yi Wanwan hastily answered. Did Nameless Nya get amnesia? Oh, I remember now. You're talking about that. Nameless Nya pursed his lips. I have a goo insect inside my body that eats every poison. I'm impervious to poison, alright? Forget about withered butterfly, but I'm not afraid of withered leopard either. Goo, Yi Wanwan slapped herself on the head. She actually forgot about Dead Man by Nameless Nya's side. She didn't know what goo insect was so fearsome to allow someone to become impervious to poison. However, seeing how Nameless Nya was so vigorous and lively despite falling victim to the lethal poison, withered butterfly, Nameless Nya must be telling the truth. It had to be said Nameless Nya's Dead Man was seriously a character. Back then, her love goo incident was all due to him too. Yi Wanwan stared at Nameless Nya as though she wanted to say something but ended up staying silent. She took half a step forward and lightly embraced Nameless Nya. What are you doing? Nameless Nya glanced at Yi Wanwan. Brother. As long as you're fine, that's good, Yi Wanwan softly said, a smile beaming on her face. Damn, when did you turn so corny? I'm not prepared for this, or used to this, alright? Nameless Nya said. Yi Wanwan immediately let go of Nameless Nya and demanded coldly, since you weren't poisoned, why did you tell me to run yesterday? Nameless Nya was baffled by her words. What nonsense is that? So many people wanted to kill us. If we didn't run, were we gonna stay and let them sauté us for dinner? Then why did you clutch your stomach? Yi Wanwan asked. My stomach hurt, Nameless Nya replied matter-of-factly. Yi Wanwan, freaking. His stomach hurt. Look, although I have a goo insect inside my body and am impervious to poison, there still needs to be a process. It's not some magic potion or elixir and can eliminate all ailments. No matter how weak that withered butterfly is, it's still a fatal poison, and the goo insect takes time to eat the poison inside my body, so of course my stomach hurts. Nameless Nya spoke so clearly and logically that Yi Wanwan didn't know how to respond for a while. Say, why did you dawdle yesterday? I told you to run, but you wouldn't run. If you ran away, I would have run away already. My stomach was hurting to hell, but you still wouldn't run. You seriously screwed your dad over, no, screwed your brother over. Nameless Nya complained. Yi Wanwan, how should I respond to that? I was worried to death, afraid that something bad would happen to Nameless Nya, but in the end, he merely had a stomachache. If you ran ages ago, I could have sent them flying with a kick then ran. Why would have I been beaten like that? Look at how my face was pummeled by their fists. Nameless Nya harumphed. Hearing this, Yi Wanwan's lips twitched. She wanted to fuck him up. Yi Wanwan finally understood that she couldn't use normal logic to understand her brother. Before Yi Wanwan could say anything, the hospital room door was pushed open, and Si Yihan entered with 2 portions of breakfast in hand. Brother-in-law, you're finally here. Did you want to starve me to death? Nameless Nya quickly took both breakfasts. Your brother was hungry and told me to buy breakfast for him. You were asleep, so I didn't wake you up, Si Yihan quietly explained. Si Yihan brought out another portion of breakfast and handed it to Yuan. This is yours. Brother-in-law, I feel like my sister's breakfast, looks more delicious. Nameless Nia turned to Si Yihan. It's the same. Yuan shot Nameless Nia a look. Fine, Nameless Nia shrugged. Have you eaten yet? Let's eat together. Yuan pulled Si Yihan to sit on the bed. It's fine, I've eaten, Si Yihan replied softly. As Yuan looked at Nameless Nia and Si Yihan, her lips turned up and happiness filled her heart. Oh right. Brother, it's your birthday in a few days. Yuan looked at Nameless Nia. That's right. What about it? Nameless Nia looked curious. What present do you want, brother? Yuan asked with a smile. Nameless Nia rubbed his chin, falling into contemplation. A moment later, he looked at Yuan again and pensively asked, how about, say whatever you want. Yuan's smile didn't decrease. How about you give me a kowtow? Nameless Nia suggested. Yuan, Si Yihan, Yuan stared at Nameless Nia. What did he say? He wants me to give him a kowtow. What does he mean? Freaking, you're just celebrating a birthday. What do you mean by having me kowtow to you, huh? Yuan wanted nothing more than to slap Nameless Nia to the ground. Didn't you say whatever I wanted? Then what's wrong with you kowtowing to me to celebrate my birthday? Isn't it normal to kowtow to the birthday boy? Nameless Nia answered matter-of-factly. Yuan took a deep breath, trying to keep herself calm. Did her and Nameless Nia's elements conflict? Brother-in-law, is there anything wrong with what I said? What's wrong with me having your wife giving me a kowtow to celebrate my birthday? Nameless Nia asked Si Yihan. Si Yihan, Nameless Nia scratched his chin and reluctantly conceded. It's fine if you don't kowtow to me, but you have to repeat what you said to me earlier. Yuan looked at her brother in alarm. Repeat what? Nameless Nia's eyes shone brightly, and his expression turned anticipatory. The line where you called me the mightiest hero in your mind. Yuan never expected him to have overheard her saying this in his unconscious state. No thanks. I would rather kowtow. Yuan never would have expected him to have heard everything she said last night. Forget it, I won't celebrate this birthday or make you kowtow to me. Nameless Nia looked at Yuan and Si Yihan and chuckled light. The two of you, you have to do well. Yuan, this seriously didn't sound like something Nameless Nia would say. Brother-in-law, from now on, I'll leave my sister to you. If you make her suffer the slightest grievance, you can ask about the prestige of me, Nameless Nia, in the independent state, Nameless Nia said with a harumph. Si Yihan, Yuan was exasperated. Ask about his prestige in the independent state. Does he have any prestige? Which faction would dare to seek out Nameless Nia's group for any mercenary missions? They were renowned for being unreliable and wouldn't do anything concrete despite adamantly demanding money. They should forget about this prestige thing. Ah, sister, look at this husband of yours. He's bad at expressing himself, so he's probably a reticent man. If anything happens in the future, you two must communicate in time. If he doesn't communicate with you, you have to go communicate with him, got it? Nameless Nia lectured Yuan with a solemn expression. Alright, I got it. Yuan sighed. He really resembled a parent. Before Yuan could say anything else, she was startled. Brother. Why is your nose bleeding? Nameless Nia reflexively pinched his nose and fell into deep thought when he saw the blood on his hand. Could it be there's too much blood in my body? Is it because I'm too strong? Yuan, forget I said anything. Shit, I accepted several mercenary missions earlier. I nearly forgot about them. Nameless Nia's expression abruptly changed and he immediately pulled off his patient gown, looking around the room. Where are my clothes? Your clothes all got ripped and torn, so how could you still wear them? Yuan glanced at him. Damn. What should I do then? Nameless Nye's gaze landed on Si Yihan. Brother-in-law, how about, you lend your clothes to me to wear for a while? I have something urgent. Si Yihan, I bought some for you. Yi Wanwan took out a new outfit from under the bed. I was afraid you wouldn't have clothes to wear when you woke up, so I had 7 stars specifically bring some here. The size should be right. After Nameless Nye finished dressing, he turned to Yi Wanwan and instructed, come home for dinner tonight. I'll cook. Then Nameless Nye fierily dashed out of the ward. Let's go back and rest a bit. A moment later, Si Yihan suggested to her. Yi Wanwan had been by Nameless Nye's side at the hospital and barely closed her eyes. Amen, how about you come back to the Nye residence with me, and rest a bit? Yi Wanwan mockingly looked at Si Yihan. Sure. Si Yihan nodded. If you don't think any problems will happen with Nye Linglong. Yi Wanwan, I'll return to Azura first and come find you after I finishing taking care of the matter, Si Yihan said. Alright, Yi Wanwan agreed. Indeed, Si Yihan had to head back to Azura to set her mind at ease regarding Nye Linglong. As for the Nye family, Yi Wanwan didn't plan to imprison Nye Linglong at the Nye residence since Nye Linglong's relationships in the Nye family were very intricate. If she was imprisoned in the Nye residence, Yi Wanwan couldn't anticipate what kind of situation might happen. If someone secretly played dirty and released Nye Linglong. After Si Yihan dropped Yi Wanwan in front of the Nye residence by car, he left. Seeing Yi Wanwan return, the Nye family guards immediately straightened their backs and nodded toward Yi Wanwan in greeting. Everyone in the Nye family knew about the matter with Nye Linglong, so worryless Nye naturally became the head of the Nye family now. After Yi Wanwan returned to the Nye residence, First Elder was the first to seek her out. Worryless, what's the matter with Nye Linglong? First Elder asked her with a deep frown. He previously felt something was amiss that Nye Linglong mobilized several elders and some of the Nye family's fighting force without informing him. Second great uncle, Nye Linglong brought people to kill my brother and me, Yi Wanwan answered. Right now, the only person Yi Wanwan could trust in the entire Nye family was her second great uncle aside from that real unreliable brother of hers. Hence, she briefed the whole story to him. After hearing Yi Wanwan's explanation, astonishment filled First Elder's face. Nye Linglong, that bastard, actually did something like that? First Elder yelled in fury. Thankfully, both Yi Wanwan and Nameless Nye were fine. Nye Linglong is now imprisoned in Azura. We just need to wait until we force the information of the mastermind out of her, Yi Wanwan said. Good, then I feel reassured. Also, all the higher-ups who participated in your killing this time will need to be punished, First Elder said after a moment of thought. Yi Wanwan nodded. That was for certain. Those higher-ups of the Nye family needed to be punished. However, as she said earlier, she needed to make them hand over their power first or else chaos would ensue in the Nye family. Yi Wanwan immediately started discussing a plan with First Elder. After they finished deciding on a plan, the night had turned dark. Alright, worryless, I'll act according to plan first. Also, in the upcoming days, it'd be best to dispatch more people to scout for information regarding your parents, as well as Nye Linglong. I think she's the most like suspect, First Elder said. Yi Wanwan didn't need First Elder to remind her of this point to know this. She naturally wouldn't neglect Nye Linglong's side of things. Seconds after First Elder left, Nameless Nye pushed open the door and entered. Where did you go to party? Yi Wanwan asked him. Didn't I tell you? I went to take care of some business. Nameless Nye glanced at her. Have you gotten old? Do you have a bad memory? Yi Wanwan, does he want to fight with me? I returned ages ago and worked to death in the kitchen for half a day. I finished making dinner already, so hurry and come to eat, Nameless Nye said. In Yi Wanwan's memory, Nameless Nye did know how to cook, and his culinary skills were rather good. Then it's my luck that I get to eat something delicious. After saying that, Yi Wanwan followed Nameless Nye to the Nye residence's dining room. Dead Man, Spray of Flowers, and the rest of the group were also in the dining room. At the dinner table, nameless Nya kept serving dishes to Yuan. These are all your favorites. Do you still remember how you especially like to eat the sweet and sour spare ribs I make? Eat more. They're good, Yuan praised. The majority of the table of dishes nameless Nya prepared was consumed by brick-moving foreigner while Yuan finished a smaller portion. Oh right, sister, I just accepted a major mission, so it will be a while before I come back. Without me by your side, you have to be more careful. Remember this, don't butt into unnecessary matters. Nothing is more important than your life, nameless Nya earnestly instructed. Alright, I got it. Yuan was exasperated. She'd been listening to his nagging all day long. Who didn't know their life was the most important? Alright, keep eating. I'll go pack up first so I can leave. After saying that, nameless Nya got up and left. Yuan looked at the dining table, which looked like a vacuum had run over it, with a dumbfounded expression. Keep eating, eat what? So yummy. Today's a lucky day. I've never eaten a meal cooked by the captain. I had no idea the captain had this kind of hidden skill, brick-moving foreigner burped in satisfaction. Yuan turned to brick-moving foreigner. She really wasn't used to him saying, eating a meal. Forget about you, even I didn't know. Spray of Flowers also interjected. Oh right. Yuan's gaze landed on Iceberg Man, how's that business deal going? Spray of Flowers and Taoist devotees' ears perked up instantly. Business deal? What business deal? You have to look after us more, boss. Taoist devotee hastily said. It's not like it's a business deal with you, Yuan replied. It's the same since we're a team. Boss, if you have to hire someone, you can't just hire dead man. We're a team, a single entity. You have to hire all of us or else, our full power won't be deployed and will diminish greatly. Taoist devotee said. Yuan ignored Taoist devotee and focused on Iceberg Man again. Almighty One, your goo is rather fearsome, of course it's fearsome. Dead man's goo, never mind, I won't say any more, you've personally experienced it yourself, Spray of Flowers said with a smile. Yuan, freaking, you just had to mention that. I won't hound you about the love goo from last time anymore, but how about you sell a few of your poison-immune goo to me? I'll pay a high price. Name a price and I won't blink or bargain. Tell me how many 10,000s you want. Yuan had a serious expression. Taoist devotee, Spray of Flowers, and the others were dumbstruck. High price, won't bargain, how many 10,000s? What a freaking high price. She was the magnificent matriarch of the Nya family, the president of the Fearless Alliance, the mistress of Azura, yet she said something like that without a hint of embarrassment. Boss, how about you sell it to me? Tell me how many 10,000s you want, and I'll buy it and won't bargain. Taoist devotee said. Yuan, their appetite had gotten big. Previously, they'd be overrun with joy with just a few hundred or 1,000, but now, they weren't satisfied with a few 10,000s. Tykes, you've changed. Yuan looked at the group with an aggrieved expression and sighed exasperatedly. Fine, let dead man sell me that goo insect that makes you impervious to poison, and I will buy a few. Give me a cheaper price. It's a deal if it's appropriate, and we can discuss it if it isn't, Yuan relented. In a place like the independent state, this goo was definitely a treasure, so Yuan had to get her hands on a few regardless of how much she had to spend. One for her, one for Tang, one for Si Yihan. It'd be great if she could buy more so she could equip the people around her with it. I don't have it, the taciturn Iceberg Man finally uttered at this valuable occasion. What? Are you afraid I can't afford it? Yuan asked indignantly. She wasn't willing to believe she couldn't even afford a goo. Say, boss, are you serious or are you joking with us? Taoist devotee asked Yuan in astonishment. Ah, boss. The main point isn't whether you're sincere or not. You're being too mystical. What is this goo that makes you impervious to poison? If you really had something like that, prescribe us a few. We'd buy it regardless of the cost. Spray of Flowers said. What did you say? Yi Wanwan frowned deeply. There really isn't something that mystical. No matter how fearsome a goo insect is, it'd still die after eating lethal poison, brick-moving foreigner replied. Doesn't your captain have this goo? He said dead man prescribed it to him, Yi Wanwan said. Huh? Spray of Flowers and Taoist devotee looked at each other, bewildered. Damn, dead man, you freaking. You had something this good. Why didn't you bring it out earlier? You prescribed some to the captain, so you've got to prescribe some to us too. Taoist devotee exclaimed emotionally as he shot up. That's right, that's right. You and the captain are too disloyal. You had such a treasure and didn't share it with us. You've grown quite capable, huh? You can even raise a poison-immune goo insect now. Spray of Flowers added. However, Iceberg Man merely looked confused. Dead man, tell us the truth. Do you really have this kind of goo and have you prescribed it to the captain? Taoist devotee asked Iceberg Man. No. Iceberg Man shook his head. I knew it. How could that kind of goo exist? If it really did, piece of shit would have bought it at a high price ages ago. Read more chapters at Ist novel. Don't you see how piece of shit carries something to test for poison with him wherever he goes in fear of someone poisoning him? Taoist devotee nodded in conviction. Yi Wanwan's expression shifted as she stared at Iceberg Man. You really haven't given Nameless Nya a goo that makes someone immune to all poison? No. Iceberg Man shook his head. The color drained from Yi Wanwan's face as she heard Iceberg Man's words and recalled Nameless Nya's abnormal behavior today. She immediately dashed out of the Nya residence. Thunder roared in spurts and a drizzle started. Yi Wanwan madly dialed Nameless Nya's phone, but no one answered. About half an hour later, she stopped by a towering piece of rock. When Yi Wanwan looked at the motionless Nameless Nya who was leaning against the rock, she froze in her spot, tears falling from her eyes without inhibition. The rain got heavier, making someone unable to differentiate her tears from the rain. Brother! Yi Wanwan threw her arms around Nameless Nya. A goo that made a person immune to poison didn't exist. Nameless Nya lied to her. Yi Wanwan finally understood why Nameless Nya kept nagging her today. Brother, wake up! Yi Wanwan sat next to Nameless Nya, but regardless of how loud she was, Nameless Nya didn't give any responses. Brother, you can't die. You can't die. I'm begging you. I'll kneel down in front of you, I'll kowtow to you. She knelt down next to him. Didn't you want me to kowtow to you? I'll kowtow to you, right now. Nameless Nya appeared very peaceful and serene, so peaceful there weren't any movements from his chest. Wanwan. At that moment, the call on her phone connected. It was Si Yihan's voice. Audio, Yi Wanwan was bawling. What happened? Si Yihan sounded confused but serious. Help me. My brother lied to me. There isn't any goo that makes you impervious to all poison. My brother is gone. After uttering that last sentence, Yi Wanwan couldn't hold on anymore and her vision turned dark. She slipped down next to Nameless Nya with a plop and lost all consciousness. Time passed. It was akin to a moment but also akin to a century. During her unconsciousness, Yi Wanwan had a dream. In the dream, both Nameless Nya and her were in their youth and chasing each other while playing. Whenever she got into trouble, that boy would always stand up and stick up for her. Sometimes, he'd beat the other person until they bled. Other times, they'd flee in panic from his thrashing. Nameless Nya, you could have ignored me. Who told you to play the hero every single time? The girl coldly snorted as she looked at the ragged-looking boy wearing a t-shirt. The boy smiled faintly. Your martial arts skills are a lot weaker than mine. If I don't help you, who else would help you? Don't think that I want to stick up for you, but TCH, who told you to be my younger sister? Brother? Suddenly, Yu Wanwan's eyes shot open. Her body was soaked by her sweat. Si Yihan was by her side. His expression turned complicated when he saw Yu Wanwan waking up. Spray of Flowers and Taoist devotee were looking at Yu Wanwan as though they wanted to say something but ended up not being able to speak a word. Audiobook, where's my brother? Yu Wanwan snatched Si Yihan's warm hand, her expression helpless. Wanwan, Si Yihan didn't know what to say. Yu Wanwan's helpless and panicked state was a thorn in his heart. Mommy, Tang Tang, who was in the corner, swiftly dashed forward and hugged Yu Wanwan. Tang Tang. Baby, tell Mommy, where's your uncle? Yu Wanwan tightly clutched her son, tears streaming from her eyes. Mommy. Uncle, he accepted a big job and went on a long trip. Tang Tang's voice was slightly trembling. As Si Yihan watched Yu Wanwan and their son, Tang Tang, his eyes coldly glinted. Discover the culprit at all costs. Soon, Si Yihan sent a message to one of his 4 Azuras, Heavenly Azura. Audiobook, take me to your headquarters. A long while later, Yu Wanwan's tears stopped. Her expression was frighteningly placid. Okay. Si Yihan finally nodded after much consideration. On the way to Azura's headquarters, Yu Wanwan was silent, blankly staring outside the window. Si Yihan and Tang Tang stayed next to her but didn't say anything. In the afternoon, the group arrived in Azura's headquarters. Take me to Nye Linglong, Yu Wanwan said. Sensing Yu Wanwan's abnormal state, Si Yihan wanted to accompany her during the interrogation, but Yu Wanwan refused. In the end, Si Yihan could only stand guard near the prison so that he could rush over immediately if anything happened and assure no problems would arise. Inside the prison, when Nye Linglong, who was covered in bruises and wounds, saw Yu Wanwan, she sneered. What? Even Azura can't weasel any information out of you, but you think you can? You? Do you think I came here to weasel information out of you? Yu Wanwan's bone-chilling gaze settled on Nye Linglong. Heh. I suddenly remember. Your garbage brother probably couldn't withstand a poison like withered butterfly. How is he? Is he dead yet? Nye Linglong mockingly looked at Yu Wanwan. Yu Wanwan's expression shifted. Yu Wanwan didn't waste any words and shot to Nye Linglong's side. She ruthlessly punched the woman's face, distorting it further. Ha! It looks like I guessed right. Your garbage brother did really die. How was it to witness your own brother dying in front of your eyes? How did it feel? Do you want to share it with me? Nye Linglong shouted coldly. I know you're a member of the direct line. I will only ask this once. Yu Wanwan expressionlessly stared at Nye Linglong. Who is the mysterious man you met last time? Also, what is the direct line's objective? You want to know? Can't you go and investigate it yourself? Nye Linglong cheerily retorted. One last question, where are my dad and mom? Did you do it? I'll only give you one chance, Yu Wanwan continued icily. Are you talking about those 2 old geezers? Of course it was me. I can tell you they're still alive, but perhaps they're about to die. You want to know where they are? Kneel down and beg me. Maybe I'll tell you if I'm happy, Nye Linglong said. Great. Yu Wanwan nodded. I gave you the chance. It was you, who didn't treasure it. Everything will end now. As she spoke, she pulled out a dagger from her side. What a joke. You dare to harm me. Nye Linglong wasn't frightened in the slightest. If I die, you'll never get any information regarding Madame Nye and Patriarch Nye. Also, the direct line will soon launch a war on the independent state. You dare. So what if she was captured? Nye Linglong absolutely didn't believe they dared to take her life away. She was too important. Nye Linglong had just finished speaking when the chillingly glinting dagger in Yu Wanwan's hand pierced into Nye Linglong's left arm. Nye Linglong's tragic howl quickly followed. A second later, Yu Wanwan expressionlessly pulled the dagger out and pierced Nye Linglong's right arm next. Have you gone crazy? Nia Linglong's complexion was pale, and the intense agony caused her face to further contort. Has this woman gone crazy? Is she really ignoring the fate of the independent state and her parents? She actually dares to treat me like this? Yi Wanwan stared at Nia Linglong without a word. She grabbed Nia Linglong by the hair and gently placed the icy dagger against Nia Linglong's neck. Brother, a mist covered Yi Wanwan's eyes. I've avenged you. The next second, Yi Wanwan put force in the dagger and broke the skin on Nia Linglong's neck layer by layer. Worryless. Worryless Nia, you lunatic. At that moment, Nia Linglong finally felt a fear she had never felt before overcoming her. In her memories, worryless Nia was indeed a lunatic. She could ignore all the consequences and do every crazy thing that no one would expect. Sister. I'll talk. I'll tell you, everything. Before Nia Linglong could finish speaking, her mouth was covered by Yi Wanwan. Nia Linglong fearfully looked at Yi Wanwan but couldn't spit out a single word. Shoo, Yi Wanwan made a silencing motion at Nia Linglong. Don't talk, I already gave you a chance to speak earlier. It was you who gave it up, no? Nia Linglong frantically shook her head. She was afraid. The drape of death caused her to incessantly shudder. You killed my brother. You won't be the only one. Every person behind you will also be buried with my brother. Then Yi Wanwan slashed the dagger across Nia Linglong's neck without any hesitation. As Yi Wanwan watched Nia Linglong breathe her last breath, her face turned colder and she tossed the blood-stained dagger to the side. At that moment, Si Yihan, who had heard the odd noise coming from the cell, opened the cell door and entered. After seeing the lifeless Nia Linglong, his gaze landed on Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan looked like she was a crazed, bloodthirsty demon who had climbed out from the pits of hell. Her bone-chilling gaze caused Si Yihan's heart to ache immensely. Si Yihan walked toward Yi Wanwan immediately, gently pulling her into his arms. Audiobook, Yi Wanwan deeply burrowed her head in his arms. Si Yihan could feel her tears soaking his shirt. Si Yihan quietly replied. Audiobook. I miss my brother. I miss him. A second later, Yi Wanwan tightly hugged Si Yihan, trembling in his arms slightly. He was your mightiest hero, Si Yihan softly whispered. At Azura, Tang Tang and Si Yihan kept Yi Wanwan company without leaving her for a second. After several days, Yi Wanwan's mood finally improved. That same day, Yi Wanwan returned to the Nia residence. The Nia family had been cleansed entirely, and the power of all the higher-ups who participated in Yi Wanwan and Nameless Nia's attempted murder had been handed to her second great-uncle, the Nia family's first elder. Yi Wanwan didn't expect her second great-uncle to act so swiftly or eliminate all of the borers in the Nia family in such a short amount of time. Worryless, actually, this had nothing to do with me. Second great-uncle sighed. Yi Wanwan frowned, unable to understand him. It was only these 2 days that I learned. In truth, when your elder brother returned that day, he swiftly and decisively took care of all those higher-ups and elders, and also withdrew all of their power, second great-uncle explained. It was brother, was it? Yi Wanwan's lips turned up in a bitter smile. That's right, it was my brother again. That day, he hastily left the hospital, saying something about accepting a big job. Ah, her elder brother was a liar, a giant liar, from head to toe. On the rear mountain of the Nia residence, there was a burial mound. As the sun set in the west, it scattered golden-yellow rays on this spot, creating a warm environment. Yi Wanwan held up 2 jugs of liquor as she sat in front of the grave. Brother, this is your favorite liquor. An indescribable smile hung on Yi Wanwan's lips as she downed the jug of liquor in one go before pouring the other jug on the ground. Brother, does it taste good? Yi Wanwan murmured softly. Brother, here's your other favorite thing. Yi Wanwan picked up a brick of gold and buried it in the ground. Soon, the liquor hit her and a crazy smile appeared on her face as she sat in her spot. Involuntarily, the scene of her first meeting with nameless Nia back in China surfaced in her mind, along with the dribs and drabs that followed. Nameless Nia made her temporarily act as Tang Tang's mommy and shoved Tang Tang into her care. Then, he participated in some mission completion reality show and sent a TV, a fridge, and the other household appliances he won to her as Tang Tang's living expenses, which eventually led to him being banned from all the mission completion shows. In her state of sobriety and intoxication, 2 streams of tears slid down her face. "Brother, if there's a next life, I still want to be your sister, and I hope you'll be my brother still. But in the next life, I'll be the one to protect you. Whoever dares to bully you, I'll stand up for you and beat them black and blue. Brother, you are the mightiest superhero in my heart." During this period of time, the independent state was oddly peaceful, and nothing major happened with both the Nia family and the Fearless Alliance. Yuanwan dispatched a lot of manpower from the Nia family and the Fearless Alliance to look into Madame Nia and Patriarch Nia's whereabouts while Azura continued to investigate the island they previously discovered. The only noteworthy finding was that dead man quietly left at some unknown point after nameless Nia left, disappearing from Yuanwan's sight, so Taoist devotee, spray of flowers, and brick-moving foreigner had been searching for dead man's whereabouts. Yuanwan felt a trace of confusion regarding dead man's departure, not knowing what he was up to. Could it be, he was cultivating in seclusion to foster a goo insect that could raise a person from the dead? Of course, that was merely a fleeting thought, and Yuanwan didn't think into it more deeply unrealistically. "Audiobook, how's your investigation going?" In the early morning, Yuanwan called Si Yihan. "There will be news within 3 days, Si Yihan responded. After chatting with Si Yihan for a moment, Yuanwan hung up. Since Si Yihan was looking into the island every day and didn't stay at Azura's headquarters too much, Yuanwan picked Tang Tang back up, and Si Yihan visited the Nia residence whenever he was free. Right now, everyone in the independent state knew about Lord Azura's relationship with the Nia family, so Si Yihan visiting the Nia residence was par for the course. Yuanwan had just hung up when some unhurried knocking came from the door. "The door's unlocked, enter." As Yuanwan called out, she looked a bit confused. Who would come to the Nia residence study to seek her out this early in the morning? The door to the study was pushed open. "It's you." When Yuanwan saw the newcomer, her brows instantly furrowed. The visitor wasn't a stranger, it was the vice president of the Martial Arts Union. "Heh. Miss Worryless, I have something to discuss with you," the vice president of the Martial Arts Union greeted her with a light chuckle. "How did you enter the Nia residence?" Yuanwan wore an apathetic expression. "The Nia residence. I can naturally enter it whenever I want to. Back then, I could even take away Emperor Ji and the leader of Heavenly Owl, so the Nia residence, naturally isn't difficult to impenetrate," the vice president replied. The Martial Arts Union, Yuanwan narrowed her eyes. In other words, it was the Martial Arts Union that abducted Ji Xiuran and the leader of Heavenly Owl, Haitang. Although Yuanwan previously suspected the Martial Arts Union, it was mere suspicion and she actually suspected the direct line the most. She never expected the Martial Arts Union to really be the culprit. "So, Miss Worryless, will you leave with me or, will I have to take you with me?" the vice president asked with a smirk. "You?" Yuanwan slowly stood up, her eyes intently focused on the vice president. "You're indeed very strong for being able to abduct Ji Xiuran and Haitang. However, I'm afraid it won't be so easy for you to abduct me." "Ha, I'll have to try and see, am I right?" The vice president strode toward Yuanwan. "You're dead." Yuanwan's eyes glinted coldly, and she swung her fist at the man. Yuanwan and the vice president's fists collided, producing a stifled sound. When they exchanged blows, Yuanwan managed to make some calculations. The vice president of the Martial Arts Union was indeed very strong, but it would be a fairy tale for him to abduct her from the Nia residence. Yuanwan was certain this vice president wouldn't be a match for her if she attacked at full power without holding back. It was just that. Yuanwan's eyes shifted. She pretended to be no match for him and staggered back. Yuanwan donned a fearful expression. I'm not your equal. Don't kill me. I'll go with you. The vice president was startled. They just exchanged blows and worryless Nya wasn't in a disadvantageous position, so why did she suddenly admit defeat? However, the vice president didn't think it was a trick and thought everything was still within his control. Then I'll have to mistreat you, Miss Worryless. Tie your hands together. The vice president threw a string of rope toward her. Yuan nodded and obediently tied her hands together. However, I'm very curious. This is the Nye residence. Even though you managed to enter, I'm afraid it won't be so easy to abduct me. Once you alert anyone in the Nye family, I'm afraid you yourself can't escape, let alone abduct me, Yuan mused. The vice president smiled faintly. Miss Worryless doesn't need to worry about this point. After saying that, he walked behind Yuan and moved a painting hanging on the wall. Under Yuan's astonished gaze, the vice president actually opened a secret passage from the study in the Nye residence. Why was there a secret passage in the study? Moreover, this secret passage was most likely newly created, looking like it had been dug from the outside into the Nye residence. As I said earlier, it won't be difficult for me to abduct you from the Nye residence, Miss Worryless. Was I right? The vice president of the Martial Arts Union asked with a chuckle. The Martial Arts Union is fearsome indeed. Yuan nodded. She conceded. They actually dug a secret passage from the outside that directly led to the study of the Nye residence. A realization dawned on Yuan at that moment. No wonder those top leaders of the independent state were abducted from their headquarters without notice. It appeared the Martial Arts Union made preparations beforehand. They had schemed for a long time. If you please, Miss Worryless, visit our Ellis novel. Calm. The vice president gestured for Yuan to enter the secret passage. Yuan didn't say anything and strode into the secret passage. After Yuan entered the secret passage, the vice president instantly followed and returned the painting in the study back to its original spot from inside the passage flawlessly. As Yuan walked in front, her lips curled up into an intrigued smile. The vice president of the Martial Arts Union thought he had abducted her, but he had no idea Yuan had decided to follow Nameless Nye's plan for a while now. As long as the mastermind behind the abduction of the independent states' leaders appeared, she would surrender and agree to leave on her own. Furthermore, she had discussed this with second great-uncle, first elder of the Fearless Alliance, and Si Yihan beforehand. As soon as she disappeared for a day, it meant she was executing Nameless Nye's plan and would leave clues for them. At that time, she would collaborate with them from the inside. The next day, on an island, after abandoning Yuan on the island, the vice president of the Martial Arts Union hurriedly left. Is this the island where Ji Xiuran, Hai Tang, and the others are imprisoned? Yuan muttered as she examined her surroundings. At that moment, from the corner of her eyes, Yuan caught a somewhat familiar figure digging into the ground crazily with a hoe in his hand. Yuan inspected the somewhat familiar figure, her brows furrowing. Why did that figure resemble Si Xia? No way. Why would Si Xia appear in this kind of place? Yuan strode ahead suspiciously. The man had an unkempt appearance with dirt pasted to his face, so Yuan couldn't be certain. Si Xia, Yuan furtively called to the man. The man with the hoe instantly reacted and reflexively turned to Yuan. Why you? It's you. Si Xia looked more stunned than Yuan when he saw her. Yuan dumbfoundedly stared at the man in front of her. How did Si Xia get to this state? No, to be more precise, how did Si Xia appear in the independent state and get abducted to this wretched place? She surmised that this island was the same as a prison and its prisoners were nearly all reputable figures from the independent state. However, Si Xia was a reputable figure in the independent state? That didn't make sense. Before Yuan could react, Si Xia sprinted toward her with his hoe and tried to hit her. Instinctively, Yuan caught the hoe Si Xia swung toward her and flung the hoe along with Si Xia back. What are you doing? Yuan surveyed Si Xia with a deep frown, but she figured it out within moments. In China, she tricked Si Wutian into being arrested, so Si Xia was probably avenging his father. Yi Wanwan. Are you mad? Why the heck did you hit me? Si Xia slowly climbed up from the ground. Si Xia, about your father, Yi Wanwan explained the whole story to Si Xia. Yi Wanwan couldn't do much about Si Wutian. Si Wutian wanted to kill her, so there was no way she would take it lying down and not retaliate. Moreover, Si Wutian brought everything onto his own self. Speaking of which, Yi Wanwan didn't hit Si Wutian or curse him. She merely called the police with a flick of her hand, so whose fault was it? Si Bai, Si Xia bitterly smiled and shook his head after listening to her explanation. He brought it on himself. He committed a crime in China, so his capture was to be expected. There's nothing to say about that. Yi Wanwan finally relaxed, knowing that Si Xia thought that way. Then why were you trying to hit me with a hoe? Yi Wanwan was puzzled. Who the heck was hitting you with a hoe? I merely got excited suddenly seeing a familiar face. Who the hell knows how long I've been imprisoned in this fucking place? I was just running toward you with a hoe. Who knew what madness struck you and made you hit me? Yi Wanwan, oh right, how did you get captured to this damn place? Yi Wanwan looked at him in surprise. Si Xia sighed. I learned about the existence of the independent state and the Si clan by chance. After my father went missing, I originally intended to come to the independent state to find him. However, on my way here, I learned from the news that he got imprisoned in China after committing a big crime. After that, I planned to visit the Si clan, but they said I was the child of some sinner. Yi Wanwan, aren't you curious about how I appeared here? Yi Wanwan asked Si Xia. Yi Wanwan didn't respond to that. Her fame wasn't a good kind of fame. Oh right, how long have you been imprisoned in this place? She inquired. 2 months or so, Si Xia replied. So, you should be rather familiar with the situation here. Yi Wanwan's eyes brightened. Kinda, Si Xia answered honestly. Great, then tell me what's the situation here and who's imprisoned here, Yi Wanwan hastily asked as she sat down next to Si Xia. Right now, she didn't know anything and coincidentally needed to find someone to spill all the information. This is the bottommost level of the underground prison of the Independent States Martial Arts Union. However, this level isn't underground. Instead, it's on an island, Si Xia explained. Yi Wanwan turned pensive as she listened to Si Xia. Who could have imagined the lowest level of the underground prison wasn't underground and was on a freaking island? It appeared she guessed correctly. If the island Si Yihan discovered wasn't where the martial arts union imprisoned people, there would be a series of trouble. But currently speaking, Azura, the Fearless Alliance, and the entire Nye family had locked their sights onto this island. As long as she cooperated with those leaders on this island and collaborated with Si Yihan and the others from the inside, they could definitely fight their way out easily. Of course, she might have to become familiar with those leaders before that, or else those people would think of her as a madwoman. What are you doing here with the hoe? A moment later, Yi Wanwan stared at the hoe Si Xia was holding, baffled. Digging a tunnel to escape, Si Xia replied truthfully. Dig a tunnel. Yi Wanwan stared at Si Xia like he was an idiot. If I remember correctly, this is an island in the sea. Do you plan to dig 10,000 miles into the depths of the sea? I know it's an island, but so what? Can't I have some unhappiness? Oh, continue to dig. I won't disturb you. News of President Fearless, Bai Feng, being captured and brought to the island spread far and wide within half a day. In this island prison, after a few days of unrelenting effort, Yi Wanwan successfully befriended those old leaders of the independent state. After Yi Wanwan recovered the majority of her memories, many faces surfaced in her mind. Since she had seen most of the leaders who were captured there and had interacted with some of them, tricking them, befriending them, progressed rather smoothly. Some days later, in the rundown cell, Yi Wanwan sat with 3 people at a table with a brand new deck of cards on the table. Countless powerful big shots from the independent state stood around them. The scene of these powerful and mighty big shots, who were once harder to see than climbing to the heavens, nesting together to watch a round of fight the landlord with great relish and occasionally give directions. Yi Wanwan didn't know whether to cry or laugh. Ha, say, Bai Feng, you've changed a lot after not seeing you for many years. I nearly didn't recognize you, a middle-aged man remarked with a light chuckle as he played a card. That's right, President Bai has changed a lot these past years. You're a lot better looking than before. Keep playing cards, why are you wasting words? Hold on, what did you play? Yi Wanwan asked. A pair of sevens. Bomb. Yi Wanwan casually threw down a bomb. Bai Feng, are you freaking mad? We're a team, so why the hell are you bombing me? The middle-aged man looked at Yi Wanwan in shock. Don't waste time. Do you want it or not? Yi Wanwan asked. I don't. Can the landlord follow it? Yi Wanwan continued. I can't. A3. Yi Wanwan smiled slightly. Bai Feng, you freaking. Careful. We're betting a month of Gopher Boy. This isn't a joke. The middle-aged man shot Yi Wanwan a glare. In the end, the middle-aged man discovered that Yi Wanwan only had a single card in her hand and the rest were bombs, so she successfully bombed the landlord into smithereens. Bai Feng, you've given me such a big gift after meeting me by making me act as a gopher for you three for a month. Is that proper? One of the young men asked Yi Wanwan. Thank you, thank you. I was just lucky. Yi Wanwan had a leg propped over her other knee with a smug expression on her face. Just looking at your expression makes me angry. If I wasn't good friends with you, I'd definitely turn into your enemy. The young man sighed exasperatedly. Once upon a time, his faction and the Fearless Alliance were allies in the independent state, and he was good friends with Bai Feng privately too. Oh right, Bai Feng. If I remember right, didn't you go missing? How did you also get captured to this damn place? Yi Wanwan shrugged. It's a long story, so I won't go into it. Anyway, I'm captured now, so what's there to say? Indeed. However, I don't know whether I should be happy or unhappy about seeing you here. Yi Wanwan, oh right. Yi Wanwan looked at the group. Do you know, the leader of Heavenly Owl, Haitang, and Emperor Ji? Rubbish. Who doesn't know Haitang and Emperor Ji? A leader responded. He had been watching Yi Wanwan play fight the landlord with the other three people. Ah, Haitang, she isn't far from us in District A. This is District B. I remember Emperor Ji is also in District A, but I don't think I've heard any news about Emperor Ji recently. No way, why did I hear that Emperor Ji escaped already? Emperor Ji escaped. Everyone was taken aback. This island was located worlds apart from the mainland, so who could escape from here? Emperor Ji escaped. What joke was that? Did he swim back? I remember there was an idiot last time who wanted to escape from the island. He was quite courageous and directly jumped into the ocean to swim back. However, he wasn't even halfway before he swam back and discovered the place where the martial arts union stored their supplies. Which idiot was that lucky? Yi Wanwan was intrigued. I think he's called C something. Was it summer or autumn one? I can't remember, Yi Wanwan, so the cards we're using right now are from that storehouse? Yi Wanwan inquired curiously. Precisely. We were captured here to be prisoners. Do you think someone would throw in a deck of cards for us to play with? Aside from cards, there was also a lot of medicine and some other random stuff. Anyway, that lad did a good deed. Yi Wanwan turned pensive. Compared to the supposed storehouse they found, what Yi Wanwan cared about more was the news that Ji Shuran escaped from the island. When she was being transported to the island, she observed that even the boat ride took a long time, so how did Ji Shuran escape? Before Yi Wanwan could think deeper, a woman whose long hair reached her waist entered. When the woman saw Yi Wanwan, astonishment entered her eyes, and she called, Xiao Feng. Yi Wanwan immediately looked back. The newcomer was none other than Haitang. When Yuan first arrived in the independent state and pretended to be President Fearless, she once met Haitang at a gathering between the major factions. Although Haitang acted very passionately back then too, Yuan hadn't recovered her memories yet and had no idea who Haitang was, so she didn't converse with Haitang for too long and made up an excuse to leave. However, upon seeing Haitang again now, Yuan's emotions were different from before. This woman was her best friend in the independent state, and she was both a teacher and a friend. When the Fearless Alliance was first founded, she received valuable assistance from Haitang. Haitang's here. Gimme a kiss. A leader's eyes sparkled when he saw Haitang. Scram, visit our Ellis novel. Calm Haitang shot a look at the man who spoke before pulling Yuan and dragging her outside. Haitang, you're still so violent and tyrannical. I'll love you till I die. Yuan, is love all he has in his head? Can't he take a look at his circumstances first? A boss is seriously a boss. They have extraordinary idiocy. Soon, Yuan followed Haitang to the island's District A. From Haitang's description, Yuan learned that this island was divided into 3 major districts, B and C, and the people of each district typically didn't interact with other districts and rarely ran into other people. District A was where Haitang and her group were located while Yuan was previously at District B. As for District C, it was much farther away on the other side of the island. How did you get captured here? Haitang hastily asked Yuan. Forget about that right now. Haitang, where's Ji Shuran? Yuan pressed. Shuran has left the island already, Haitang responded. Yuan was dumbfounded. He really escaped. How did Ji Shuran do it? No way, right? How did he escape? Yuan asked. Who do you think Ji Shuran is? They wanted to trap him on this little island? I'm afraid it's not so easy, Haitang answered. There was no follow-through after Ji Shuran escaped? Yuan was puzzled. With Ji Shuran's personality, he shouldn't have abandoned his friends. Ji Shuran said the martial arts union might not have any intentions of harming us, so he told us not to worry for now, Haitang said. Ji Shuran's logic is rather unique. The martial arts union imprisoned us on this island already, yet he thought they still don't have any intentions of harming us? However, on second thought, why didn't the martial arts union directly kill them but imprison them on this island instead? What was the martial arts union's objective for doing this? Oh right, here's a letter for you. Ji Shuran told me to give it to you. Haitang pulled out a letter and handed it to Yuan after a moment of thought. No way, right? Ji Shuran knew I would get captured here. Yuan was astonished. Don't tell me Ji Shuran is a clairvoyant. It wasn't that he foresaw you getting captured here. It was just that I needed to hand this letter to you whether you came here or I eventually escaped, Haitang explained. Yuan didn't dither and opened the letter. It had to be said that Ji Shuran's handwriting was outstanding. In contrast, her handwriting was composed of scribbles. You mustn't investigate the matter relating to the direct line anymore. Remember that. In truth, I don't have a grand dream. I just want a plot of good field and a simple life. I want to engage in small business and live plainly. These brief words were enough to make Yuan dumbstruck in her spot. He told her to stop investigating the direct line and also mentioned a plot of good field, and a simple life. Could some celestial being come down from the heavens and tell her what Ji Shuran's letter meant and what he wanted to convey? Why didn't he want her to investigate the direct line? Furthermore, what the heck did a simple life mean? She didn't understand it at all right? And even if there was a reason behind this, he should have at least informed her of the reason, right? Upon seeing Yuan's peculiar expression, Haitang asked curiously, what is it? What did he write? Haitang, you didn't read Ji Shuran's letter to me? Yuan responded. Haitang shook her head. Never. Ji Shuran intended this letter for you, so why would I read it without your permission? Yuan naturally didn't doubt Haitang's character. She immediately handed the letter to Haitang. See for yourself, Haitang. Haitang accepted Ji Shuran's letter with a puzzled expression. A moment later, her brows furrowed together. Can you understand what Ji Shuran tried to say? Yi Wanwan asked the other woman. I really don't. Haitang shook her head. Why did Ji Shuran mention the direct line out of nowhere? Moreover, what did a plot of good field, conducting some business and living simply mean? Those words didn't seem to connect to the earlier instructions for Yi Wanwan to stop investigating the direct line at all. Yi Wanwan sighed exasperatedly. Was Ji Shuran giving her a decryption game? Unfortunately, her intelligence was limited and she seriously couldn't figure out what information Ji Shuran was trying to give her. Truthfully, couldn't he have spoken more straightforwardly? Did Ji Shuran leave any other words for me? Yi Wanwan inquired. Not really. However, during his deduction, I think Ji Shuran mentioned there had to be a mysterious person who formed a connection with the direct line behind the scenes, and that mysterious person most likely isn't a member of the direct line. Instead, he must be in the dark giving directions, and perhaps even using the direct line to accomplish something, Haitang answered after some thinking. A mysterious person. Yi Wanwan was pensive. Was it the mysterious person who third elder said Nia Linglong had gone to see in the middle of the night? And also the person who kept wanting to steal her ring? Yi Wanwan wasn't certain whether that mysterious person was a member of the direct line or using the direct line. She had no idea. However, Ji Shuran's speculation was completely on point on one matter. The mysterious person really did use the direct line to have them steal her ring. Based on Ji Shuran's deduction, Yi Wanwan deducted something else. The mysterious person definitely knew the ring she wore represented the paramount power of the Rose of Death, and the owner of this ring could command the Rose of Death and become their new Eric. However, Yi Wanwan previously obtained a rather useful piece of information from Big Dipper's mother. Only members of the Rose of Death knew what this ring represented, and only someone with deep connections with the Rose of Death could know that obtaining this ring was the same as becoming the new leader of the Rose of Death. In other words, that mysterious person definitely wasn't unfamiliar with the Rose of Death. In the midst of Yi Wanwan's contemplation, Haitang softly asked her, "Did you think of something?" Yi Wanwan lightly shook her head. Not yet. Being able to pinpoint a person just based on this amount of information was absolutely a pipe dream. Forget about pinpointing someone. Yi Wanwan still had no idea whether this mysterious person was male or female, old or young, tall or short, fat or thin. What made Yi Wanwan's head hurt the most right now was whether the letter Ji Shuran left for her had anything to do with this mysterious person or not. If it didn't, what was Ji Shuran trying to convey? If it did, what was the meaning and what was the goal? Yi Wanwan felt her head swelling like a balloon. Haitang, are there any other clues? Yi Wanwan asked Haitang. Right now, every minute thing that Ji Shuran left behind could be a vital clue, so Yi Wanwan didn't want to overlook any useful information. During Ji Shuran's deduction, he was in a flustered state and was even agitated. He wrote down many things but shredded everything, Haitang answered. Are the shreds still here? Yi Wanwan hastily questioned. For some reason, Yi Wanwan had a feeling that valuable clues were left behind in the paper that Ji Shuran shredded. They haven't been cleaned out yet. I'll take you there. Soon, Yi Wanwan and Haitang arrived at the storehouse. This is the storehouse that Xia discovered. Yi Wanwan looked surprised as she assessed the spot. You know Xia? Haitang asked casually. Yi Wanwan nodded. He's quite lucky and discovered this reserve storehouse. There are many useful items in here, medicine being the most abundant, Haitang said with a smile. As Haitang spoke, she brought over all the paper shreds that Ji Shuran shredded. Yi Wanwan was exasperated when she saw the scraps. They were indeed shredded, too shredded even. Let's piece together all these scraps and see if we can find some useful information, Haitang suggested. Okay. Yi Wanwan and Haitang started working. After some time passed, Yu Wanwan and Hai Tang speechlessly met each other's eyes. It might look like a simple task, but it, in fact, required a Herculean amount of effort. Piecing these shredded pieces of paper together was no walk in the park. The only saving grace was that Ji Xiuran's handwriting was very clean and proper and highly distinguishable. Sigh, thank goodness. If it was me who wrote it, even Jesus wouldn't be able to piece it together, Yu Wanwan remarked with a shake of her head. Hai Tang smiled in response. The afternoon turned into the next morning, and after staying up the whole night without sleeping, Yu Wanwan and Hai Tang finally patched the shredded pieces of paper into a semblance of its original appearance. However, the things Ji Xiuran wrote on the paper baffled Yu Wanwan further. Forget about Hai Tang, it would probably be useless regardless of who they called over to take a look. The contents of Ji Xiuran's scrap paper did contain some significance, but no one could understand the significance. It's actually like that. Could it be the hypnotism lost its effect, or perhaps, too much time passed after the hypnotism, so they remembered everything again and finally returned? Yu Wanwan was unable to ascertain anything from the contents of the paper but managed to grasp a few key points. Hypnotism. Time. Remember again. Return. Yu Wanwan and Hai Tang studied the pieced-together paper for half a day but unfortunately couldn't glean any clues from it. The sky was turning dark, so Hai Tang could only escort Yu Wanwan back to District B first and give the matter further thought. When the duo arrived at the entrance of the prison, they ran into Si Xia, who was returning with his hoe. Yu Wanwan looked at Si Xia's dirty appearance and recalled his appearance when he was revered as the school prince and god at Qinghe High School back then, mesmerizing countless girls. She couldn't help but muse inwardly, the past is unbearable to recall. I can't keep looking at this. As soon as Si Xia saw Yu Wanwan like that, he knew her old habit had kicked in. He wiped the dust from his face and snorted. You still care about your looks in a place like this? How leisurely and carefree you are. Yu Wanwan raised her brows. So what? Even if I'm at the guillotine, if the executioner is good-looking, I would die more comfortably, no? Si Xia. Even Hai Tang was at a loss for words. The trio entered the enormous cell one after the other. Si Xia had been there for a rather long time and he performed a meritorious deed by discovering the storehouse, so some leaders enthusiastically greeted him as soon as he entered. Si Chun-Won is back. Any reaps today? Visit our Ellis novel. Yu Wanwan nearly choked on her own spit after hearing that. Si Chun-Won. Si Xia exploded the second he heard those two words. I'm called Si Xia. Si. Xia. Do you have dementia in your old age, huh? How many times do I have to say it? The leader broke into laughter as he kept playing cards with another person sitting opposite of him. Chun and Xia are about the same, how was it about the same? Yu Wanwan was inwardly laughing at Si Xia's indignant appearance when a familiar-looking leader walked toward her. The leader's hair was braided behind the back of his head and a signature beard was kept on his chin. Yu Wanwan recognized him to be the leader of 4 Seas Gate, Zhao Gao. Ha, President Bai, long time no see. Zhao Gao greeted with a laugh. Yu Wanwan calmly smiled in response and answered, it has indeed been a long time. I trust you've been well since we last met, Gate Leader Zhao. I've been good. President Bai, sorry for disturbing you, but boss he wants to see you. Zhao Gao waved his arm towards a certain direction. Yu Wanwan automatically followed the direction of Zhao Gao's arm and saw a man sitting on the only decent quality leather chair in the prison. The man looked to be in his 40s with a pair of turbid eyes, emanating a dark chilliness that made people very uncomfortable. His stare toward Yu Wanwan especially made her feel like a venomous snake had its sight set on her. Yu Wanwan had to think hard to remember this man was the leader of Hong'an Gang, He Biao. Hong'an Gang didn't possess a great advantage over other famous gangs in terms of overall strength, but He Biao had an elite assassin squad under him whose reputation shook the entire independent state, so no one dared to trifle with him. This squad was passed down to every leader of the Hong'an Gang. In fact, a vice president of the martial arts union once died at the hands of this assassin squad. Yi Wanwan had been there for a few days without any trouble. She didn't expect him to initiate contact with her today. When the people in the prison heard He Biao wanted to speak with Yi Wanwan, the room turned silent and everyone secretly peered at the two people. Worryless, be careful. There's definitely nothing good coming from this He Biao. Yi Wanwan sent Haitang a pacifying gaze before calmly walking toward He Biao. May I ask what instructions you have, boss He? He Biao churlishly leaned back in his chair, his eyes unscrupulously running up and down Yi Wanwan's body. I heard President Bai has been having quite a lot of fun these past few days. Yi Wanwan chuckled. I've been all right. Then are you interested in playing with me? What would you like to play, boss He? Anything, President Bai. You decide. And what's at stake? Yi Wanwan asked. He Biao chuckled. The stakes are very simple. If you lose, President Bai, I won't make things difficult for you. It's lonely on this island, so you just need to keep me company for a few nights. The second He Biao spoke, Yi Wanwan narrowed her eyes. Fuck, Si Xia quietly cursed while Haitang's expression also changed. Every prisoner here was a leader from the independent state, and the majority of these leaders were men while only a small portion was female. Even if they were female, they were figures at Haitang's level and were individuals people couldn't afford to offend, so no one dared to do anything to them. Yi Wanwan was the president of the Fearless Alliance, so nobody dared to have ulterior motives against her either. However, after being imprisoned for so long on such a remote island without any hope for escape, the evilest side of human nature would eventually be triggered. Let alone the fact that Yi Wanwan had such a risky face. When the observing leaders heard He Biao's words, a commotion ran through them. Damn. He Biao is savage. He dares to try something with even Bai Feng. You can't blame him though. A girl changes 18 times between childhood and womanhood, and Bai Feng's face right now is seriously tut. Ha ha ha, do you think Bai Feng will agree? Unlikely, I think. Even if she's Bai Feng, she's still a woman, so she probably won't agree to a bet like this easily, right? Haitang furiously glared at He Biao and hastily tugged on Yi Wanwan. Worryless, don't bet with him. He Biao is old and cunning, you won't win against him. Yi Wanwan had some knowledge of He Biao's character. The games she and the others typically played were all child's play, and Yi Wanwan definitely wouldn't win against him. Yi Wanwan's eyes turned before looking at He Biao. Gang leader He, you said I could choose whatever wager I wanted, right? He Biao smiled cunningly. That's right, you can decide the wager, but the precondition is that the wager must be absolutely fair. Yi Wanwan inwardly sneered. He was old and cunning indeed. Alright, I'll bet with you, Yi Wanwan agreed. An uproar erupted in the area. Worryless, are you mad? Haitang exclaimed. Si Xia also didn't expect her to actually agree. Damn, crazy woman. Why the hell did you agree? Do you know who this guy is? In all the time he's been here, he's never lost. He Biao's gaze filled with excitement and interest as he looked at Yi Wanwan and clapped his hands. Seeing this for myself is better than hearing the legends. President Bai is courageous indeed. Yi Wanwan glanced at Haitang and Si Xia. You too, don't be so rankled, alright? Maybe I'll win. Si Xia was boiling with fury. Win your ass. I told you this guy is old and cunning. Don't you yourself know He Biao's abilities? Yi Wanwan clapped Si Xia on the shoulder. Calm down, calm down. It's not like you're the one sleeping with him if I lose. Moreover, what a coincidence, I've also never lost. You, Si Xia started. He Biao's eyes glinted. Then shall we begin now? Yi Wanwan paused for a moment before asking, hold on, if I lose, I keep you company for a few nights, but what if I win? He Biao seemed to have zero expectations of Yi Wanwan winning, so he was startled upon hearing that. What do you want? Yu Wanwan's eyes ran over He Biao's waist before she said, "If I win, I want your White Tiger Seal." White Tiger Seal was the seal that Hung and gang used to mobilize their assassin squad. That assassin squad only obeyed the seal and not people, so as long as someone had that seal, they could mobilize the squad. He Biao's expression darkened instantly. "You have quite the appetite, little girl." Yu Wanwan merrily said, "Boss He, we can't leave this deserted island and people on the outside can't enter. Someday, we might even be killed and these items are worldly possessions, so it's useless even if you held on to it. Actually, thinking about it, I'm the one getting the shorter end of the stick." Truthfully speaking, Yu Wanwan's words weren't unreasonable. Yu Wanwan blinked. "What? Don't tell me, gang leader He, you're scared." He Biao snorted. "You don't need to goad me, President Bai. I agree. If you win, I'll give this White Tiger Seal to you, as long as you have the ability." As he spoke, he untied the seal from his waist and slapped it on a nearby table with a bang. He looked around the room before saying, "Well, can we begin now? Everyone here can serve as witnesses for us too." Afraid that she would back out, He Biao even dragged a bunch of leaders to serve as witnesses. Yu Wanwan nodded. "All right. Let me think about what we should bet on." Haitang fretted with worry as she watched Yu Wanwan agreeing so directly. "Why did you agree like that?" "Great. How are you going to compete now? You might not win against him even if it's martial strength." Si Xia darkly said, "Don't even think about some low-level game like poker or dice." Yu Wanwan chortled. "I wouldn't bet on something that childish." Everyone excitedly looked at Yu Wanwan, wanting to know what she bet she was planning. In their eyes, in terms of experience, there was no way Yu Wanwan could win against He Biao. Over half of the gambling dens and casinos in the independent state were properties of He Biao and the Hung gang. He was the ancestor of gambling, so how could Yu Wanwan, a little girl in her 20s, win against him? "President Bai, have you thought of something?" He Biao inquired, calm and unruffled. He looked at her like she was prey that already belonged to him. Yu Wanwan mulled it over briefly before nodding. "All right, I have." She paced back and forth for a moment before pausing and looking at He Biao. Her lips curled up as she coolly said, "Gang leader He, I will bet that you won't dare to eat shit." Dead silence enveloped the room. Yu Wanwan cheerily continued, "If you really don't dare to eat shit like I said, gang leader He, then I win. Of course, if you dare to eat shit, gang leader He, then I lose. How is that? It's fair, right?" Haitang, Si Xia, He Biao, Zhao Gao, the observing leaders, He Biao shot up and forcefully shattered the table next to him with a slap. "Bai Feng. How dare you trick me?" Yu Wanwan raised her brows. "Gang leader, what are you saying? Your esteemed self is the person who decided the rules, so I'm merely playing according to your rules. How am I tricking you? You'll win as long as you eat shit. That's very fair." Yu Wanwan swept her eyes over the room. "There are so many leaders here as witnesses, so don't tell me your esteemed self wants to renege on your promise. Everyone, hurry and be my judge. A great leader like gang leader is actually reneging on his bet with me. Everyone, judge her ass." How could someone be as shameless as her? However, they couldn't refute. Even Haitang and Si Xia were dumbfounded. No matter what, they wouldn't have expected her to think of such an evil move. Yu Wanwan shook her head and sighed before muttering to herself, "Think about how I can clearly rely on my face to make a living, but I just have to be so shameless one." Si Xia, Haitang. He Biao stared at Yu Wanwan darkly. He never expected this woman to be so crafty. The gambling He Biao originally referred to was normal gambling like poker and mahjong, which was why he told Yu Wanwan she could choose whatever she wanted. He didn't expect to let her take advantage of the whole. It was the perfect example of a word game, and He Biao didn't have the advantage. "How about it, boss He? Will you eat it or not?" Yu Wanwan asked with a slight smile as she calmly stared at He Biao. Yu Wanwan was certain He Biao wouldn't dare to win. Regardless of whether He Biao would eat it personally, if He Biao really ate shit in front of everyone, he would lose all reputation and standing after returning to the independent state, and He Biao's power would also disintegrate and break apart after all. No member would be willing to follow a boss who had no scruples about eating shit simply because he wanted to sleep with a woman. Even if He Biao didn't believe they would be able to escape from this island and was prepared to stay here for the rest of his life, if he publicly ate shit, it would be very difficult for him to continue to survive on this island. Boss He, why aren't you talking? Yu Wanwan asked with a jeer. So, President Bai, do you really think you've won? He Biao's eyes locked on Yu Wanwan with a cold gaze. What are you saying, Boss He? Isn't it up to you whether I win or not? If you really eat it, then I have no choice but to accept my loss, Yu Wanwan retorted with an uncaring expression. Everyone looked astonished when they heard He Biao. Some leaders who had decent relationships with He Biao all looked at each other. He Biao doesn't seriously want to win, right? Although it was truly very easy for He Biao to win. If He Biao really won, not only would it not be an honorable deed, it would also become a gigantic dark spot that he wouldn't be able to erase for the rest of his life. Simply because he wanted to make a woman sleep with him, he actually went to eat shit. Forget about a prominent figure in the independent state like He Biao, there probably wasn't any normal person who would be willing to do something like this, right? Say, He Biao, don't tell me you're really planning to win. If you're really freaking eating it, I won't know you from now on. I don't want shameful friends like you. A leader shot He Biao a glance. Boss Zhou is right. He Biao, I think you should just give your white tiger seal to President Bai. We can't leave this place anyway, so there's no use for you to keep your white tiger seal. You must consider this carefully. He Biao glanced at the speakers. The white tiger seal isn't important. I've never lost. Before the other leaders could speak, Yu Wanwan mockingly said, He Biao. I seem to recall having told you this, I've also never lost. Do you really have that much confidence? He Biao menacingly glared at Yu Wanwan, his expression as dark as the bottom of a pan. The corners of Yu Wanwan's lips turned up in an icy smile. So does that mean Boss He Biao is planning to win? What are you waiting for? Hurry up. Yu Wanwan ran her eyes over the room. Which of you bosses can help give Boss He Biao some hot and fresh ones to eat? You. He Biao turned furious instantly. He simply couldn't understand how this woman could be shameless to this extent. Me? Yu Wanwan curiously asked. What about me? I'm merely thinking on your behalf, Boss He. Of course, if you don't like to eat fresh ones, Boss He, then we can find you some not-so-fresh ones too. Whatever you want. Everyone couldn't help but shake their heads as they stared at Yu Wanwan. President Fearless' reputation really didn't come out of nowhere. Even a veteran independent state leader like He Biao would probably find himself caught on the losing end against Bai Feng. He Biao was too unfortunate. Although he had never lost in the gambling arena, his degree of shamelessness was probably galaxies inferior to President Fearless. Carefully thinking about it though, who was the Fearless Alliance in the independent state? Their notoriety spread far and wide and they were detested and cursed by everyone. They murdered and plundered, committing every imaginable misdeed. On the grander scheme of things, the Fearless Alliance would rob even heaven and earth. On the minor side of things, the Fearless Alliance was no rare participant in pilfery, especially President Fearless before them. Some leaders from the independent state personally witnessed her boldly cutting in line at Xiaobing stores. Someone without an ounce of quality, morals, or integrity like her. Anyone who bet with her would be plagued by 8 lifetimes of bad luck. I finally understand. Ah, He Biao. Did you think you were competing with President Fearless on who was a better expert gambler? I'm afraid President Bai doesn't think that. She's clearly competing on who's more shameless. Yu Wanwan glanced at the speaker. This person was so boring. Why did he have to say such honest words? Say, boss I think if you really dare to win, then you'd be more shameless than President Bai. You better carefully think about what path to take. What are you afraid of, boss Go on. It's just a serving of poop. If you eat it, I'll respect you as a true man from now on. Upon hearing this mockery, Biao's expression turned darker. How about it, boss Don't waste everyone's time, Yuan pressed. After a moment of silence, Biao harumphed at her and promptly pulled off the white tiger seal hanging from his waist and tossed it at Yuan. Boss you're so kind, Yuan cheerily said as she caught the white tiger seal. Bai Feng, you're seriously shameless. Biao turned and left after shooting Yuan a fierce glare. What high praise, boss Goodbye, boss let's bet again when you have more valuable items in the future. Yuan called out as she watched Biao leaving. Scram! I'll never bet with someone like you again for the rest of my life. Biao cursed without looking back. Look at this. Boss character is so-so. He's such a sore loser. Yuan sighed exasperatedly. You're awesome. Xia immediately gave Yuan a thumbs up. A leader looked at Xia. Say, Si Chun, judging from how naive you are, you mustn't spend too much time with President Bai. Have you heard of this saying before? One is marked by the company one keeps. If you keep hanging out with President Bai, you'll turn into coal. My freaking name is Xia. Xia, Sixa. Xia screamed. Then who's Si Chun? How the heck would I know who Si Chun is? I'll bomb the storehouse if someone freaking calls me Si Chun again. Xia shouted. Alright, stop shouting. Yuan frowned. I have another matter I'd like to discuss with everyone. President Bai, what good matter could you possibly have to talk about? Of course it's a good matter. Yuan looked at everyone. Doesn't everyone here want to leave this wretched place and return to the independent state? Everyone's expressions shifted upon hearing Yuan's words. Who would be willing to stay in this damn place? But leaving this place was simply a lunatic's dream. President Bai, this island is surrounded by the sea. And there isn't a single tree on this island, so it's impossible to make a boat even if we wanted to. Leave? How are we gonna leave? Are we gonna swim back? A leader shook their head. If they really could leave this wretched place, they'd be willing to pay anything with the exception of their lives. It's nothing as dramatic as swimming, Yuan smiled enigmatically. However, an item like a boat, I do have one. Everyone was shocked. President Bai, you mustn't joke carelessly about this. You really have a boat? Of course. I definitely have a ship. Regardless of how gutsy I am, I wouldn't dare to play tricks on all you bosses, Yuan replied with a nod. Where's the boat? Don't concern yourselves with the location of the ship. I, Bai Feng, won't dare to say anything else, but I can guarantee one thing today, as long as you wish to leave, I can guarantee I can help everyone leave, Yuan said genially. Are you serious, President Bai? All the leaders were stunned. Of course I'm serious. If I told a single lie, you can beat me to death. How about it? Yuan proposed. Forget whether it's real or fake. If we can leave, we're definitely willing to leave. No need for the rush. Yuan faintly smiled at the leaders in the room. Well, leaving won't be a problem, but, don't you need to buy tickets for the ship first? We need to buy tickets. Everyone was startled. Of course you gotta buy ship tickets. I'm not holding a charity. Buy them if you want, leave if you don't, Yuan said. Also, there are limited tickets, so they go to the highest payers. Fucking, Bai Feng, just tell us how much. Name a price, I absolutely won't bargain as long as I can leave. Name whatever price you want. And so, every leader purchased the most expensive, astronomically priced ship ticket they'd ever bought in their lives. As Yi Wanwan looked over the pieces of officially written and signed loan slips from the leaders, a grin stretched across her face. Her trip was worth it. This time, she was rich. At this moment, only Yi Wanwan and Hai Tang had moved locations. Worryless, was what you said real or fake? Do you really have a ship? Hai Tang asked her with a frown. Those people had seriously been imprisoned in this miserable place for too long. Yi Wanwan had given them hope, so the consequences would be inconceivable if there wasn't a ship in the end. Of course I have a ship, Hai Tang. I'm not a fool. If I joked about this matter, I would be ruthlessly beaten dead by those people, Yi Wanwan responded. Yi Wanwan quickly told Hai Tang the whole story. After learning the Fearless Alliance, the Nya family, and even Azura had their eyes locked on this island, Hai Tang was surprised. It turned out Yi Wanwan being captured was part of the plan. Oh right, Hai Tang, I still have something to request of you, Yi Wanwan quietly added. What is it? Just tell me. Yi Wanwan took a step forward and leaned into Hai Tang's ear to give her instructions. After Yi Wanwan finished speaking, Hai Tang's expression shifted minutely. Why? Yi Wanwan was silent for a long while. Hai Tang, you don't need to know too much about this matter. Just do as I say. I need to test it out, Yi Wanwan finally replied. Alright, I understand, Hai Tang agreed. Then I'll go back to make preparations now. Thank you. Yi Wanwan nodded lightly. Seconds after Hai Tang left, a soft voice came from behind Yi Wanwan. Xiao Feng, long time no see. This voice was both strange and incredibly familiar to her. Yi Wanwan reflexively turned around. The man wore a fleeting smile on his face as he looked at Yi Wanwan with his long and narrow eyes. This man before her emitted a scholar's aura from his bones. Brother Xiren? Yi Wanwan was startled briefly when she saw the man but quickly regained her wits. Of course she wasn't unfamiliar with this man. He was her sworn brother, Wen Xiren. It really is you. Wen Xiren chuckled lightly before walking toward Yi Wanwan. Soon, Wen Xiren stopped in front of Yi Wanwan. Your voice hasn't changed all these years, but I wonder if your appearance has changed. It hasn't changed. It's almost the same, Yi Wanwan answered with a smile. In Yi Wanwan's memory, Wen Xiren was blind in both eyes from birth and couldn't see anything. When did you get captured here, Brother Xiren? Yi Wanwan asked the man with a frown. Although First Elder from the Fearless Alliance previously hypothesized this, Yi Wanwan didn't expect to actually see Wen Xiren in here. Not too long ago. But that's unimportant. You, however, where did you go all these years? Why did you leave the Fearless Alliance without a word? Wen Xiren asked. Yi Wanwan didn't explain in detail. Since Yi Wanwan and Wen Xiren hadn't seen each other for a long time, they conversed quite a bit after finding a spot to sit. Yi Wanwan and Wen Xiren had known each other for more than 10 years, so she knew him very well. Considering Wen Xiren's strength, if he wasn't blind, he definitely wouldn't have been captured in this kind of place. After learning about Yi Wanwan's plan, Wen Xiren was startled. If it was as she said, it wouldn't be long before they could successfully leave this island. Actually, I don't think the Martial Arts Union holds any ill intentions towards the people they captured on this island, Wen Xiren quietly said to Yi Wanwan after a long while. Yi Wanwan furrowed her brows when she heard that. Wen Xiren's thoughts were similar to Ji Shuran's. The majority of the people imprisoned on this island are people who've brazenly rejected the Direct Line's invitation, so I don't think this could be that coincidental. Furthermore, the Martial Arts Union most likely wouldn't capture us for no reason, Wen Xiren explained. Yi Wanwan neither refuted nor agreed with this. She was still clueless about the Martial Arts Union's possible objectives right now. There was one notable point though. The act of capturing everyone to this island, restricting their freedom, and imprisoning them without a deadline wasn't kind at its roots. Say, don't tell me you don't want to leave. Yi Wanwan glanced at Wen Xiren. Wen Xiren shook his head and chuckled. How could that be? Who would want to be imprisoned on this island? Leaving is the best option, of course. I'm very curious about how you were captured to this place with your strength. Yi Wanwan asked him. Actually, you can't call it being captured. Wen Xiren shook his head. I previously accepted a mission where I was supposed to investigate this island. Before I entered the island though, I ran into the members of the Martial Arts Union who were guarding the island boundaries and I was tricked onto the island. Yi Wanwan. Lin Ke anxiously tagged behind Si Yihan and tried to persuade him, ninth brother. Hold on, ninth brother. Calm down a little, ninth brother. Didn't we hear from the Nye family already? Ninth sister intentionally planned to get captured so that she could personally scout the situation and collaborate with us on the outside. Otherwise, if we barge onto the island completely unaware of the situation there, it'd be too dangerous. Furthermore, the winds aren't right currently, so we can't go to the sea. So it'd best if we waited for ninth sister's signal. Lin Ke talked a truckload, his mouth about to cramp from how much he spoke, but the man striding forward ahead of him merely straightened his cuffs and said, prepare a boat. I'll go there myself. Lin Ke sent Jiang Yan a look to make him help persuade Si Yihan, so Jiang Yan cleared his throat before saying, my lord, based on the incident with Nia Linglong last time, Miss Nia's martial strength must have fully recovered. Moreover, Miss Nia is resourceful and clever, so she most likely won't be in any danger on the island. Lin Ke's lips twitched. Resourceful and clever. He didn't expect Jiang Yan to have the talent of fibbing without batting an eye. Si Yihan put on his big, black jacket and buttoned it. Jiang Yan, if I don't return within 3 days, do as I previously instructed. My lord, Jiang Yan started. Unfortunately, the duo said everything they could, but Si Yihan still couldn't put his mind at ease. In their eyes, Yi Wanwan was the president of the Fearless Alliance, Bro Flattop, the second miss of the Nye family, and the demon instructor of Scarlet Flames Academy. Her martial strength was extraordinary and she had a plethora of worldly experience, so she was a veteran who absolutely wouldn't be at a disadvantage. To Si Yihan though, his image of her had always been the first time he met her. He regarded her as a weak and naive little girl. In the end, Si Yihan led Lin Ke and several elites from Azura and rowed a boat to head to the island. At the same time, on the island, when the people learned Yi Wanwan had a way to get her hands on a ship, the majority of them were still skeptical, but at least they had a trace of hope. All the leaders enthusiastically looked forward to the ship coming sooner so they could hurry and leave this wretched place. Otherwise, they'd even lose their pants from this demoness schemes. Yi Wanwan didn't immediately send a signal. She planned to observe the situation on this island a little longer and ensure everything would go without a hitch before allowing the Nye family and Si Yihan to come and rescue her. And, well, she wanted to trick a few more bosses while she was at it. Yi Wanwan's ability to trick people came in all shapes and forms. After He Biao fell victim, other people weren't willing to believe it and tested her out themselves. All of them ended up being tricked until they cried for their parents without any exception. Inside the prison, Yi Wanwan seized the most comfortable throne. On her left, a leader from some gang was miserably holding her tea for her, while on her right, another leader was obediently pouring water for her. All the leaders were steaming with rage and gathered together, whispering with great fervor. Damn, isn't there anyone who can teach this demoness a lesson? Teach her a lesson. If you dare, then go yourself. I won't go. I heard He Biao's high blood pressure ramped up again from his fury. So tragic, across the short table from Yi Wanwan, a leader was drenched in sweat. That's impossible. Shouldn't the last card in your hand be a 3 of hearts? Yi Wanwan wore an arrogant expression. Your vision must have deteriorated in your age, right? Accept your loss gracefully. So many people are watching, so you mustn't try to get away shamelessly, gang leader. At the entrance of an old prison, several leaders were sitting at the entrance like dried sardines and chatting, bored out of their minds, when one of them sharply caught sight of an unfamiliar face nearby. Who are those 2 people over there? I don't think I've seen them, a leader asked suspiciously. Probably some newly captured souls. A leader from another faction turned in the direction of the two newcomers, and his eyes abruptly shot open in disbelief. Shit! Lord Azura. Isn't the one on the left Lord Azura? How did he also get captured here? Damn! What did you say? The one on the left is Lord Azura and the one on the right is his deputy. I've seen them once before, so I'm definitely not mistaken. After disembarking from the boat, Si Yihan led Lin Ke to secretly scout for traces of Yi Wanwan but couldn't find her after searching several districts. He only found her bloody shoes on a beach. As Si Yihan held her shoes and stared at the traces of blood on it, his expression was unprecedentedly dark. Lin Ke also panicked slightly. Ninth brother, wait, there's still a district we haven't checked yet. Si Yihan's fingers clenched, and he resumed walking. At the entrance of District B's prison cells, the people at the entrance swiftly rushed inside to inform everyone. Damn, another one is captured. Do you know who got captured this time? Inside, the leaders were all disinterested. Initially, when new people were captured, they still made a few remarks. But as more and more people were captured and their backgrounds turned bigger and bigger, most people were numb to the news already. Who? Why are you so excited? A person asked nonchalantly. Lord Azura. It's Lord Azura, the person at the entrance yelled. Shit. Who? One of prison's three heads, the leader of Azura, Lord Azura. That's right. It's him. I've seen him once, so I definitely didn't mistake him. Even Lord Azura was captured here. Just what faction is behind this island? I originally thought it was prison's doing, but even Lord Azura ended up being captured here. Inside a deeper room, Yi Wanwan was playing the card game, Zijinhua, when she heard the commotion outside. She offhandedly asked, why is it so loud outside? Someone by the door responded, someone new got captured here. Someone new? Aren't nearly all the respected leaders of the independent state captured here? Who else could be captured? Yi Wanwan asked with raised brows before languidly taking a sip of the good tea she just won. An excited voice shouted from the crowd, shit! I think it's Lord Azura. Pa! The second Yi Wanwan heard the name, Lord Azura, she instantly spat out her tea. Who did you say? The boss of Azura. The great devil, Lord Azura. Yi Wanwan was stupefied. She wasn't prepared at all. Audiobook? She hadn't sent a signal yet, so why did he come? After Yi Wanwan's surprise passed, her second reaction was to look down and inspect herself. Right now, her hair was messy and her clothes were wrinkled. She was wearing a pair of shoes woven from grass and she was shaking her legs, which were propped on the coffee table, without any care for her image. There were some cards in her hands while items she tricked out of those bosses were piled in front of her. She wholly embodied a king of the mountain, a bandit. Yi Wanwan cursed, damn. It's over. Why did he come without a moment's notice? I'm not prepared in the slightest. Yi Wanwan was akin to an ant on a frying pan and she quickly put her feet back down and shot up. She scrambled to stuff her cards into the hands of the leader on her left and covered everything on the table with a piece of cloth. Then she swiftly untied her bird's nest hair and combed through it. Yi Wanwan had just finished scurrying around when Si Yihan stepped inside in his black jacket. He originally planned to wait for the cover of the night before coming to look for her, but he couldn't wait that long. It wasn't until he saw her with his own eyes that he could feel at ease. The first thing Si Yihan did when he entered was survey the room, looking for that familiar figure. At the same time, the leaders around the room also each evaluated the man with their own thoughts. This was Lord Azura. Didn't the rumors say Lord Azura's appearance was ugly as a monster? Aren't his looks a bit heaven-defying? Aside from that face, there aren't many differences between him and a monster, right? Everyone present were veterans with battle experience, so they could instinctively detect this person's danger with a single glance. At this moment, a silhouette dashed toward Lord Azura. What's going on? Lord Azura has an archenemy on this island? These enemies were infuriated with a single look and are going to start fighting immediately. Yi Wanwan was truly too fast and even Si Yihan didn't have time to react. By the time he could react, a soft warmth filled his arms. Yi Wanwan acted like a frightened bunny and pounced towards Si Yihan the moment she saw him, burrowing her head into his chest. Si Yihan's original vigilant expression disintegrated the instant Yi Wanwan leaped into his arms. When he saw her sitting in front of him, completely unharmed, his maniacal and chaotic thoughts finally calmed and his taut expression also eased. Wanwan, she was fine. Wah, baby, you're finally here. The island is so scary. Yi Wanwan's voice was both soft and dainty as she pitifully glued herself to Si Yihan and started whining tearfully. No one from the observing crowd expected the assailant to be by phone. They watched as this demoness who tricked them to the point of death these past few days abruptly changed her demeanor and flew toward Lord Azura like a cute and helpless-looking damsel in distress. Their chins all dropped. What did they just see? Who just pounced over there? I think it's that demoness. What did she say? The island's really scary. Isn't the scariest thing on this island her? Also, rumors claimed Bro Flattop had an affair with even Lord Azura, but were they not rumors? It was true. This woman dared to pick up even Lord Azura, so just how scary was she? Si Yihan completely ignored the stunned gazes around him. When he heard Yi Wanwan, his loosened brows instantly wrinkled again, and he immediately took off his jacket, wrapping it around her and pressing her closer into his arms. He lowered his head and kissed the top of her head with extreme gentleness. Don't be afraid. It's fine now. Yi Wanwan patted the top of her head, upset. Damn it, I didn't wash my hair. As she felt the familiar scene and heat enveloping her, warmth filled her heart. She looked up and started complaining coquettishly. Yi Wanwan complained, baby, I'm telling you, everyone on this island is an extremely vicious and fiendish demon. And they teamed up to bully me. I was scared to death. Baby, you almost missed me. When the leaders, whose eyes had turned dazed from witnessing Yi Wanwan's changed demeanor so abruptly, heard this, they were all dumbfounded and their expressions turned incredulous. What did this demoness say? One of the leaders who just lost the last valuable item in his possession couldn't help but blurt out, say, President Bai, all of us were bullying you. Has your memory gotten mixed up? Weren't you the one bullying us? Si Yihan, Yi Wanwan, being exposed so instantaneously, Yi Wanwan glared at that leader with a warning before continuing to tattle pitifully and helplessly, it's true. They really were bullying me. Do you know how horrible the big scoundrel from Hong'an Gang, He Biao, was? He actually forced me to bet with him and said I needed to sleep with him if I lost. Si Yihan's expression darkened instantly. Hong'an Gang, however, before Si Yihan's rage could explode, the weak voice of 4C's Gates boss was heard from the side, but, the end result was that you bet he wouldn't dare to eat shit. So if he wanted to win, he had to eat shit. In the end, he could only admit defeat and he lost his family's heirloom, the white tiger seal, to you. These past days, his high blood pressure and heart problems have acted up several times. The other righteous leaders also couldn't bear it anymore and one of them flicked back the cloth covering the low table, revealing Yi Wanwan's treasures. He sorrowfully said accusingly, look at this yourself. You tricked everything out of us and you sold our ship tickets to us at a high price. Even a ticket scalper isn't as deceitful as you, Yi Wanwan, would you die if you spoke less? Yi Wanwan protested, baby, they're slandering me. I am not. I didn't. You have to believe me. Si Yihan grunted. All the leaders, shit. Was Lord Azura actually this easy to deceive? This was illogical. These leaders never expected the rumored bloodthirsty and terrifying Lord Azura to be duped so completely by this demoness and felt their hearts aching with grief. Say, Lord Azura, I'm telling you, you should polish your eyes. Don't be deceived by a certain someone. That's right, that's right. Take a good look at the person next to you. This woman simply isn't a person. This Bai Feng is seriously crafty. right? She can dupe even Lord Azura so completely. Yuanwan gritted her teeth in anger. These bastards. I'll definitely get you back. However, Si Yihan didn't seem to care about those people's words at all. He peered down at the grass-weaved shoes Yuanwan was wearing and frowned. Why are you wearing those? My sandals were bad quality and I accidentally broke them, so I threw them away, Yuanwan replied. A leader interjected, didn't you break them while fighting and kicking someone? That's right, the person you kicked was me. Yuanwan took a deep breath and rotated her wrists. Fuck. They're forcing me to attack, right? Before Yuanwan lost control and went on a warpath, Si Yihan suddenly retrieved something from the hands of Lin Ke nearby. When he opened the bag, a dress and a pair of brand new, pink, soft-leathered flats were revealed. Si Yihan took out the shoes and knelt down. Put them on. After switching to the new pair of shoes, her feet immediately felt relief. Yuanwan dazedly asked, why did you have this? Lin Ke interjected from the back, that's not all. There's also clean clothes, skincare products, makeup, chips, spicy strips, lollipops. Yuanwan stared at the other bag containing the clothes and necessities. She was so moved that she didn't know what to say. Si Yihan said, I came in a hurry, so I could only bring a random outfit. It might not be to your liking. If you don't want to wear it, Yuanwan immediately refuted, no way. I'd like anything you prepared. I'll wear it, I'll wear it. After these past days of trickery and swindling, Yuanwan managed to get her hands on a single room and hastily led Si Yihan there to spend some alone time with him. In the end, Lin Ke was left behind outside and had to listen to the other leaders endlessly rattling off that demoness evil deeds from these past few days. That demoness seriously isn't a good person. You've got to talk to your lord. That's right, that's right. The demoness is best at swindling and tricking people. Exactly, exactly. If you don't believe me, ask the people around me. We've been screwed over thousands of times these past days. Lin Ke, fucking, why did I rush here with ninth brother in fear of something happening to her, spooked out of our minds. On the other side, the second Yuanwan and Si Yihan entered the room, she was forcefully pulled into Si Yihan's arms before she could say anything. This embrace clearly expressed his repressed unease and fear. Yuanwan quickly patted his back with her hand. Sorry, I should have sent you a signal a long time ago, but I hadn't been on the island for too long, so I didn't dare to rashly inform you to come here and risk yourself before uncovering more information about the situation. As long as you're fine, it's good, Si Yihan replied. I'm fine. Can't you see I'm perfectly fine? Yuanwan exasperatedly asked, why did you come running here? It was too risky. What if it was too dangerous? There's no what if. Si Yihan wouldn't even allow a what if. Moreover, if it really was dangerous, that was all the more reason for him to come. Yes, there's no what if. Yuanwan kissed him on the cheek comfortingly before proceeding to briefly explain the situation on the island to him. Based on my scouting these past few days, this island is where they've imprisoned all the leaders. This lousy island is in the middle of the sea and doesn't have any reception. Plus, the surrounding terrain is dangerous, so there aren't any routes nearby and ships don't pass by it, allowing it to remain undiscovered. Throwing someone in this lousy place is equivalent to throwing them into an aquatic prison. They wouldn't be able to escape regardless of how capable they were. Yuanwan sighed and continued, moreover, from what I understand, these leaders were left to their own devices after being thrown here and haven't even seen the shadow of a ghost, let alone the person behind this. I really can't figure out why that mastermind captured this many important figures from the independent state and ignored them without interrogating them or beating them. What was their objective for imprisoning them like this? Si Yihan's eyes glinted and he asked, none of you have seen the mastermind? Yuanwan nodded. That's right. There's no one keeping watch over us here on the island. What is it? Si Yihan seemed to have thought of something but didn't say it out loud. Nothing. Yuanwan pulled Si Yihan to sit down on the tiny bed. Baby, come here. Sit down and rest. I got this private room through trick, it was given to me by a kind leader. Yi Wanwan corrected herself while beaming. Si Yihan surveyed the room as he casually asked, on the island, did you see him? Yi Wanwan replied as she started to take out the new clothes from the bag, huh? Who? Si Yihan paused for a moment before answering, Emperor Ji. Yi Wanwan choked and scratched her head. Nope, I didn't see him. I actually saw a friend of mine, the boss of Heavenly Owl, Haitang. She told me Emperor Ji somehow found a method to leave the island already. Before departing, he left a very strange letter for me, but I couldn't figure out what he meant after trying to decipher it for half a day. Si Yihan furrowed his brows. Emperor Ji isn't on the island? Yi Wanwan nodded. Si Yihan appeared to have thought of something, his expression darkening slightly. It was nearly impossible to leave this island with the strength of one person. He spent a large amount of energy merely to pinpoint this island's location. Furthermore, the geography around this island was extremely complicated and had a lot of undercurrents and reefs. He only managed to successfully arrive on a ship because he hired sailors with decades of experience and had an elaborate plan. Even so, the navigation was extremely risky. However, since Ji Xiuran dared to go out to the sea, he most likely had a foolproof plan based on his personality. Seeing that Si Yihan seemed to be contemplating something, Yi Wanwan was afraid his imagination was going wild again and hurried to switch the topic. Oh right, baby, do you know who I ran into on the island? You definitely won't guess. Si Yihan knew she was forcefully changing the topic but didn't expose her. Who? Your eldest niece, Si Chun. Pa, I've been led astray by those people. I meant Si Xia. It's Si Xia. Si Yihan was astonished. Si Xia. That's right. He scared the heck out of me when I saw him. When I saw him running toward me with a hoe, I thought he was going to avenge his dad, but that lad knew his dad had no one to blame but himself, so he didn't make any trouble for me. Otherwise, I would have had to go easy on him. After all, in terms of position in the family hierarchy, I am his 9th aunt-in-law. Si Yihan expressionlessly responded, no need to go easy. Yi Wanwan wondered, is he Si Xia's real uncle? That lad probably went to go dig holes again, I'll take you to him later. First, I'll bathe and change my clothes. Yi Wanwan quickly took out all the clothes from the bag. Si Yihan was seriously too considerate. He prepared a whole outfit of clean clothes as well as undergarments. Although she could find a place with fresh water to bathe, supplies were scarce and she didn't have any change of clothes. Let's go, let's go. Come with me to take a bath first. Where do you usually bathe? Si Yihan asked. There's a pond in the center of the island. Si Yihan frowned lightly. Outdoors? There's no other way. It's already good that there's a place to wash up in this lousy place. Don't worry, there isn't anyone suicidal who would dare to peek. Haitang and I were together, so we kept watch for each other. It was super safe. Si Yihan didn't say anything else. The two of them soon reached the bathing spot and this time, instead of Haitang, her new guard was Si Yihan. After stripping, Yi Wanwan sank her body into the water and leaned against the rocks on the side. She saw that Si Yihan was standing at a perfect distance and holding her clothes for her as he kept watch, his eyes not straying a centimeter. Yi Wanwan clucked her tongue. Ey, is my charm lacking? His eyes actually aren't straying a centimeter. At least take a peek. Baby, don't you think this island would be rather nice if there weren't anyone else here? Yi Wanwan lay on the side of the lake, a reminiscent expression on her face. Do you remember? Back then, we always wanted to find a place where no one could find us, a place that only had the two of us, and live there. I remember, Si Yihan replied. How could he not remember? Yi Wanwan sighed. Sadly, I don't think that way anymore. I can't live in a place like this with just the two of us. Si Yihan's back abruptly stiffened. Why? Yi Wanwan immediately replied, because we have baby Tang Tang now. It should be the three of us now. Si Yihan had panicked for no reason. Amen. Seeing that Si Yihan was in her line of sight, Yi Wanwan completely relaxed. These past few days, it seemed like she was wreaking havoc everywhere, but in reality, she merely didn't dare to allow herself a moment of rest. Because the second she rested, she would recall those matters heavy on her heart. Her brother's death, her parents' unknown whereabouts, the person acting behind Nia Linglong, and this island that was imprisoning everyone. She needed to uncover everything as soon as possible. Audiobook, when can we leave? Yi Wanwan asked. Based on the direction of the winds, it will be most suitable in 3 days. Okay. After bathing, Yi Wanwan put on the dress Si Yihan brought for her. He had prepared a long, very ladylike style dress in pastel pink. It was so celestial and ethereal it instantly transformed her from a demoness to a little fairy. Yi Wanwan and Si Yihan returned to the prison. The room was originally a loud ruckus but instantly quieted the instant Yi Wanwan appeared at the entrance. Everyone's heads simultaneously shot up. The girl had skin fair as snow and hair hanging down her back. She was in a long dress and standing by the door elegantly like a lotus flower breaking the surface. This face. Isn't this the demoness? Sit shit. The room was deadly silent for some time before a leader released a world-shaking scream and slipped down from the bench in his shock. At the same time, the brother next to him was shaking and fell in the air while someone else on the other side of the room knocked over the storage rack, producing a giant boom and dust storm. The prison turned into chaos, a ripple of gasps reverberating throughout the room. Everyone stared at Yi Wanwan like they'd seen a ghost. They weren't this shocked even when they were tricked by Yi Wanwan into stripping to their underpants. Fuck. This is Bai Feng. Am I seeing things? But that's Bai Feng's face, what's the fuss over nothing? She simply changed her clothes. Freaking, the problem isn't the fuss. The main point is where the heck did she get her new clothes from? That's right. I've never seen these kinds of clothes in the storehouse. Could they have been brought in from the outside? Everyone was talking at once. President Bai, about the ship, we've paid the fee, a leader hastily said to Yi Wanwan. Bai Feng, you've taken our money, so if there isn't a ship or you don't take us, you have to refund us 100 times the original cost. Upon hearing this, Si Yihan glanced at Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan, ahem, what's the hurry? Any more squeaks from you and you're disqualified. Yi Wanwan snorted. Yi Wanwan turned to the man next to her. Audiobook, look, they're teaming up to bully me, Si Yihan. Everyone was dumbfounded at that. They didn't mishear, right? Team up to bully her. Bully? Just who in the world was freaking bullying whom? They'd bought tickets for the ship, but they still had to freaking act like servants. Just who was the buyer and who was the seller? Alright, enough nonsense. Make preparations in these next 2 days and wait for my instructors to act. Also, whoever leaks out the news, won't be able to leave at that time and they will be everyone's enemy. You reap what you sow. Also, monitor each other between yourselves and make sure it'll be absolutely safe. After resolving the matter with the ship tickets, Yi Wanwan led Si Yihan away and found Hai Tang and Wen Xiren to discuss the plan for departure in 3 days. Later that night, inside a simple and crude house on the edge of the island, Si Xia was sound asleep with his arms around a rock, snores occasionally breaking the silence. Someone easily opened the door and slipped inside. When the newcomers saw Si Xia sound asleep, a cold glint surfaced in their eyes and their lips curled up with an icy, meaningful smile. The newcomer was holding a piece of rope and slowly walked towards Si Xia, stopping next to him. They pulled the rope around Si Xia's neck, seeming to want to choke him to death with it. However, when the visitors saw the hoe nearby, they appeared to change their mind immediately and tossed the rope aside, gently picking up the hoe. Hee hee. Punk, don't resent me. If you want to blame something, blame your own misfortune. As the visitor spoke, they clutched the hoe and aimed it at Si Xia before ruthlessly hacking it towards Si Xia without any hesitation. The amount of force wasn't light. Forget about a person's head, but even a large piece of rock would have probably been smashed to bits. At that moment, Xia suddenly turned over and the hoe missed. Damn, punk, your luck is good, but what's the point of living an extra 30 seconds? The person snorted and didn't stop their attack, striking Xia's head again. What depressed the visitor was that this punk managed to dodge both fatal blows successively. Humph. The visitor snorted. They returned the hoe to its spot and picked up the thick rope they tossed aside earlier. A second later, the visitor knelt over Xia, firmly locking him in place so that he couldn't move before wrapping the neck in their hand around Xia's neck. Ha ha ha, punk, let me see if you're lucky again this time. Turn around again. How will you freaking turn now? The visitor was dressed in black and their face was covered by a makeshift piece weaved from the plants and flowers on this island. Their laugh was immensely unbridled and dramatic. Let's see if I can choke you, little bastard, to death today. The person snorted and pulled with both hands, harshly choking Xia's neck. This very instant, Xia's closed eyes shot open. Damn, who are you? Xia was stunned when he saw the person in black crouched above him. Hee hee, little darling, I'm Bai Wuchang 1. I came here for your life, the visitor answered with a chilly chuckle. Bai Wuchang. Where's Bai Wuchang then? Xia retorted almost immediately, not seeming to have woken up completely yet. Your grandfather Bai Wuchang is waiting for you in the underworld, the person in black shouted harshly. Big brother, don't kill me, brother. Xia yelled. Let's talk properly.